But he turned and said unto Peter, Get thee behind me, Satan. Thou art an offense unto me, for thou savorest not the things that be of God, but those that be of men. Here we're coming to a very well-known passage, and we see that Peter was not only not yielded to God's will, but he was actually fighting God's will. He was so set on having his way and things being done the way he thought they should be done that he was unyielded to what God was doing, was actually fighting God's will. Jesus, he comes and he rebukes Peter and he says, Get thee behind me, Satan. Now, what would cause Jesus to call Peter, his friend, Satan? Well, we see that Jesus says it was because he didn't savor the things that be of God. He was not savoring the will of God for him. You know, something interesting about that word savor, it has nothing to do with spicy or sweet or sour or salty. It has nothing to do with how enjoyable something is to everybody else. Savor has everything to do with how enjoyable something is to you specifically. Savor has nothing to do with how popular it is, has nothing to do with how much people like it. Savor has everything to do with your enjoyment of a thing. I'll give you a quick example. My wife, she has this dip that she likes to use. She calls it French onion dip, and she'll get her Ruffles potato chips and dip in this French onion dip. Now, I will tell you, and she would tell you the same, I can't stand the stuff. I mean, it smells like rotten feet to me. I don't even like to be around her when she's eating it, and she knows that. But, you know, I don't have to enjoy it. I'm grateful that she can enjoy it. Another thing in our home, I love to get little cans of Armour potted meat, and I'll put them on white bread, and I'll put a little onion on top of it. And boy, I'll tell you what, there is nothing like an onion in a potted meat sandwich to me. Now, my wife can't stand the odor of the potted meat. You see, she doesn't have to enjoy what I enjoy. It's not her job to savor that which is on my plate. It's her job to savor that which is in front of her. And in a similar fashion, you and I, we get ourselves into trouble when we look at what's on other people's plates. We get ourselves in trouble when we start wanting what other people have. You see, something Jesus was trying to teach Peter is that Peter needed to learn to savor or to find great pleasure in what God was doing in Peter's life. You see, that's the thing with God's will. You shouldn't have to look at everyone else. You shouldn't want what other people have. You need to learn to enjoy what's on your plate. You need to learn to savor, learn to find pleasure in where God has you today. Find pleasure at the stage of life that you're in. So often we look back and say, boy, I wish I was this age again. And many times young people, they look and say, man, I wish I was older. You see, we can waste our lives seeking to savor what's on other people's plates. But what God has for you is to savor, learn to find pleasure in what He's put on your plate. Might I encourage you that you learn to enjoy or take great pleasure in the marriage God has given you, in the church God has given you, in the employment God has given you. Might I encourage you that you learn to savor what God is doing in your life today. This has been our Midweek Minute. We love you. Hopefully we'll see you tonight at 7 for Soul Winning.